Welcome to a tale of wonder and invention. What would you do if you built a wooden horse that could fly? This is the story of a boy who did, and how it changed his life forever. A long time ago, there lived a skilled carpenter, renowned in his city for the beauty and precision of his craftsmanship. He built tables, chairs, cabinets, decorating them with intricate designs and inventing new shapes that amazed people. His fame spread far and wide, and people competed to buy his work. He had a kind and supportive wife who helped him in his workshop, and a single son named Aladdin, who was 13 years old. The father taught his son all the secrets of the trade, and before long, Aladdin became as talented as his father, even creating strange and wonderful wooden objects of his own. But Aladdin's passion didn't stop at carpentry. He loved reading books about science and mechanics, and his knowledge quickly surpassed that of other children his age. One day, an announcement echoed through the markets of the city and neighboring towns. A great competition would be held for all craftsmen, blacksmiths, carpenters, and others, where each artisan could showcase their most impressive work. The winner would receive a valuable prize from the minister of the realm. The entire kingdom buzzed with excitement as craftsmen began working on extraordinary, never-before-seen creations. People laughed and said, "Surely the prize will go to Aladdin's father. No one is more skilled than him." But the father didn't seem interested. So Aladdin asked him, "Father, aren't you going to enter the competition? No one can beat you. Whatever you create will be unique and extraordinary, a masterpiece no one else could match." His father replied, "What do you think about joining the competition yourself, Aladdin? Let this be a test of your skills and creativity. Your mother and I have already agreed. We believe in you. Don't let us down." Aladdin agreed, determined to make his parents proud. He went to his small workshop, a room full of wood, nails, saws, hammers, metal parts, gears, screws, wires, and piles of science and mechanics books. All around him were the clever little inventions he had built before. A wooden clock with a tiny rooster that popped out and crowed every half hour. A small wooden monkey that beat a drum with moving arms. A wooden horse that walked with mechanical steps and moved its mouth as if neighing. But Aladdin said to himself, "I must create something unlike anything anyone has ever seen. I have to amaze everyone and win the first prize. I want my father to be proud." And so he began to think deeply. What would this strange and marvelous invention be? But no idea came to him, and eventually sleep overtook Aladdin where he sat, exhausted from thinking too much. As he drifted into slumber, he had a strange and wondrous dream. In the dream, Aladdin saw himself riding his small wooden horse. Suddenly, the horse took off at full speed, galloping across vast plains and open fields, racing ahead of every creature around him. Even leopards and tigers couldn't catch up. Suddenly, a vast sea appeared before them, stretching far and wide. But the wooden horse didn't slow down. It charged forward toward the water, unstoppable. Aladdin shouted, trying to rein it in, but he couldn't control it. Just as they were about to plunge into the sea, something incredible happened. Two wings suddenly burst from the horse's sides, flapping like those of a bird. The wooden horse soared into the air, lifting Aladdin high above the sea. Its wings beat steadily, like those of a mighty eagle or falcon carrying a man on its back. Aladdin clung tightly to the horse, terrified he might fall and drown. But the horse flew gracefully, gliding over the water, then over dry land, past trees and fields, higher than the mountains and hills, until it finally vanished into the clouds above. Aladdin awoke in shock, his heart racing. The first thing his eyes fell upon was the wooden horse still standing silently in its place. He wiped the sweat from his brow and whispered, "What a strange dream! A flying wooden horse? No one has ever heard of such a thing, let alone built one." Then a thought struck him. If someone could create such a flying horse, they would surely win the minister's prize. It would be the most astonishing invention ever made. But could anyone, no matter how skilled, truly build such a flying machine? He looked at his tools and books, mechanics, engineering, science, as if they were calling him to try. Suddenly, filled with determination, Aladdin leapt from his bed and declared to himself, "I will try to build this flying horse. If I succeed, it will be a true marvel, the wonder of all wonders. I'll use everything I've read and everything my hands have learned." Without delay, Aladdin began working on the flying horse. Days turned to nights as he poured all his energy into his creation. The new horse was life-sized, like a real steed, with a saddle and reins and a carved wooden face so realistic it looked almost alive. Its legs were made of polished ebony, equipped with powerful springs that allowed them to move. He built wings from thin wooden panels, foldable and expandable, designed to tuck neatly at the horse's sides when not in use, just like a bird's wings before flight. When in flight, the wings would spread wide and flap up and down rapidly, strong enough to carry the body of the horse and its rider into the air. Aladdin connected the wings to a powerful spring hidden inside the horse's belly. This spring was activated by two foot pedals connected with leather straps. As the rider pressed the pedals with their feet, the motion was transferred to the spring's gears and then to the wings, causing them to move and lift the horse into the sky. At last, the winged wooden horse was complete. Only one thing remained: to test it. Aladdin stepped out of his room after spending many long days working non-stop. He called for his father and mother and proudly showed them the flying horse. They couldn't believe their eyes. Aladdin mounted the horse near the balcony of their home and began pressing the pedals with his feet. The horse stirred. Its wings came alive and started to flap. His mother cried out in fear, "Be careful, Aladdin!" But the horse lifted off the ground, powered by its strong wings, and soared through the window, flying in circles around the house. His parents stood frozen, unable to believe what they were seeing. It felt like a dream. Finally, the horse descended and landed gently in their garden. His mother rushed to hug him, still in shock, while his father stroked the wooden horse with deep admiration.
This horse is a true marvel. We must keep it a secret until the day of the competition. It's only a few days away, and I'm certain you'll win the grand prize. Your name will be on everyone's lips." So they carefully hid the flying wooden horse inside the house and told no one about it. At last, the day of the competition arrived. It was held in the city's largest marketplace, and skilled craftsmen from all over came with their finest creations. The square was filled with incredible, unusual works of craftsmanship. Aladdin said to his father, "Let's go, father, and present our flying horse along with the other craftsmen in front of the minister." But his father replied with a mysterious smile, "I have a better idea, something that will astonish everyone, especially the minister. It will ensure your victory." He leaned in and whispered something into Aladdin's ear. Aladdin's eyes lit up and he smiled brightly. "That's a brilliant idea, father. I'll do it exactly as you said." A little while later, the minister arrived, wearing a silver robe and walking with great dignity. Behind him marched his entourage of officials and guards. At his command, the craftsmen began to present their creations, showing off their details, explaining their benefits, and demonstrating their excellence. As the sun began to set and the final craftsman finished, the minister looked around and asked, "Is there no one else who wishes to present their invention?" Suddenly, a loud voice rang out, "I do, Your Excellency!" The minister and his entourage looked around, but they couldn't see where the voice came from. Then the crowd gasped in awe and fear, pointing toward the sky. High above the marketplace, a flying horse appeared, with a young rider on its back, soaring gracefully through the air above the crowd.
The crowd screamed in terror. "It's the devil! The devil has come riding his flying steed!" People fled in panic, running in every direction. But Aladdin's father stepped forward and called out to calm them. "Don't be afraid. It's my son Aladdin, riding the flying horse he built himself." Aladdin gently descended and landed his horse right in the middle of the marketplace, directly in front of the minister's seat. He dismounted, bowed respectfully, and said, "Greetings, noble minister. I hope my flying wooden horse has pleased you." The minister, stunned, approached the horse and touched it in disbelief. "I can hardly believe my eyes. If I hadn't seen you flying it myself, I would never have believed it. This is truly a marvel beyond imagination." Then he asked, "But tell me, how does this wooden horse fly?" Aladdin explained, "The secret lies in the foot pedals. They are connected to the wings. When I move the pedals with my feet, the wings begin to flap and lift the horse into the air. The faster I pedal, the faster the horse flies. And when I want to land, I simply slow down the pedals and the horse descends to the spot I choose." The minister exclaimed in amazement, "This is incredible! Let me try it myself." He climbed onto the horse and began pedaling. Instantly, the flying horse lifted into the air and circled the marketplace as people pointed in astonishment, their mouths agape. The minister finally landed with a wide smile on his face. "You are truly gifted, young man. I declare you the winner of this competition." The crowd erupted in cheers. The minister awarded Aladdin a prize of 1,000 gold dinars and then added, "What do you say? Will you sell me this flying horse? It would be of great use to me. I could oversee the affairs of the kingdom, traveling swiftly from place to place. No mountain, river, hill, or sea would stand in my way. I will pay you a fortune, 100,000 gold dinars." Aladdin thought for a moment, then said, "I have no objection, Your Excellency." The minister clapped his hands in delight. "Excellent! Take your horse home for now. In the morning, I'll send my guards with the payment, and you will hand over the flying horse."
The minister left with his entourage, his face glowing with happiness. Aladdin turned to his parents, beaming. "We're rich now. With this money, I'll buy a palace, and the three of us will live together in happiness and comfort." His parents were overjoyed and walked back toward their home, while Aladdin mounted his flying horse and soared ahead of them. But Aladdin did not notice the tall, grim-faced man with cold, terrifying eyes standing silently among the crowd. He kept his features hidden beneath a large cloak and had watched everything unfold without a single soul noticing him. This man was none other than the infamous thief Hamdan, a dangerous criminal who never hesitated to rob anyone. He had just been released from prison for a previous theft.
Hamdan watched the flying horse disappear into the distance and said to himself, "What a magnificent creation! Whoever owns this flying horse can never be caught, no matter what crime he commits." Then he added with a sinister grin, "With this horse, I could even rob anyone I wish, even the minister himself. And I will rob him. He's the one who had me thrown in prison all these months." The thief began plotting a devious plan, then waited patiently for nightfall to strike. Meanwhile, Aladdin returned home with his flying horse and placed it carefully back in his room. He had dinner with his parents, all of them cheerful and dreaming about what they would buy with the 100,000 gold dinars the minister had promised. Outside, heavy rain began to fall. "Let's go to bed," said Aladdin's father. "The weather has turned cold." But just then, there was a knock at the door. Aladdin's mother looked surprised and asked, "Who could be knocking at this hour of night?" Aladdin opened the door to find a man who looked miserable, cold, hungry, and soaked from the rain. The man said, "Please, may I stay the night? I'm a traveler, far from home, with nowhere to sleep." Aladdin's father welcomed him warmly. "Of course, come in, stranger. You are welcome here." The man entered, shivering, and sat by the fire to warm himself. It was none other than the thief Hamdan in disguise. Aladdin's father kindly brought him a meal, which he devoured hungrily. Then, with a quick glance, Hamdan peered into Aladdin's room and saw the flying horse inside. A wicked smile crossed his face. He was reassured the prize was here. From his pocket, Hamdan took out 3 apples and offered them to Aladdin and his parents. "Please accept these," he said. "It's all I have to thank you for your hospitality." Grateful, the family accepted the apples. But the apples were laced with a powerful sleeping drug. As soon as they finished eating, the 3 of them fell into a deep, heavy sleep, unaware of anything happening around them. Silently, Hamdan crept into Aladdin's room and gazed at the flying horse with greed sparkling in his eyes. He whispered to himself, "Now no one will ever catch me, not even the minister himself." He mounted the horse, pressed the pedals, and the wings spread. With a rush of wind, the horse soared from the balcony into the vast night sky. Hamdan steered the horse toward the minister's palace. He landed silently on the roof, unnoticed by the guards stationed below on the palace walls. The thief slipped quietly into the minister's chambers and opened his treasure vault, overflowing with jewels, gold, and countless coins. He stuffed everything into a large sack, then crept back out to the roof.
He tied the sack securely onto the back of the horse, mounted it again, and took off into the sky. One of the palace guards happened to look up and caught a glimpse of the flying horse. He couldn't see the rider's face in the darkness, but he shouted in alarm, "Look! The flying horse and its rider, they're above the palace!"
The captain of the guards laughed and said, "It must be Aladdin, coming to greet the minister on his flying horse." Meanwhile, the thief hummed on, flew off with the horse and the sack full of gold and jewels. He smiled with satisfaction, realizing the guards had mistaken him for Aladdin due to the darkness. "Perfect," he said to himself. "Now no one can accuse me of anything, not even the minister. I'll leave this land behind, cross the seas on this horse, and settle in a faraway country where no one knows me. I'll live like a king on the minister's wealth, and I'll steal whatever I want without anyone being able to catch me." And off he flew, crossing mountains and seas, vanishing into the night sky. At sunrise, the minister woke up, excited at the thought of finally receiving his flying horse. He went to his treasure vault to retrieve the promised 100,000 gold dinars, but froze in horror. The vault was empty. Not a single coin or gem remained. He shouted, "Guards, quickly! I've been robbed! All my gold and jewels are gone!" The stunned guards rushed in, unable to believe that anyone could dare to rob the minister, let alone sneak past the guarded palace walls. The minister raged. "This is impossible! How did a thief even get in here?" The captain of the guards stepped forward. It must have been Aladdin, the one with the flying horse. He told the minister how the guards had seen the horse circling above the palace during the night. The minister's face turned red with fury. "Then Aladdin is the thief. He came in the night to rob me with his flying horse, thinking no one would see him. The cunning boy! That's why he built the flying horse. No doubt his father helped him. Arrest them all, Aladdin and his parents, and bring me that horse." Immediately, the guards rushed to carry out his orders. Back at home, Aladdin slowly regained consciousness. His head was heavy, and he felt disoriented. He sat up and saw his mother and father lying beside him on the floor. There was no sign of the stranger from the night before. Confused and alarmed, he stumbled to his room, only to discover the flying horse was gone. The truth hit him like lightning. That man, he was a thief, and those apples, they were drugged. He shook his parents awake with difficulty and explained everything. At first they couldn't believe it, until the minister's soldiers burst into the house and began searching every room. They didn't find the flying horse, so they seized Aladdin and his parents and dragged them to the minister. "We found no sign of the horse in the house," the guard captain reported. The minister's eyes blazed with anger as he turned to Aladdin's parents. "You thieves! You built that horse so your son could rob me in the night, thinking he'd escape unseen. But fortunately, my guards witnessed it."
Aladdin pleaded with the minister. "I swear, Your Excellency, I didn't steal your treasure. Please believe me. Neither I nor my parents had anything to do with this." He tried to explain the truth, but the minister refused to listen. Instead, he barked at his soldiers, "Throw them in prison until they confess where the flying horse, the jewels, and the gold are, or I'll have them all executed." The guards began dragging Aladdin and his parents toward the dungeon. On the way, Aladdin leaned in and whispered to his mother and father, "Only I can uncover the truth. I will escape, find the thief who stole the flying horse and the treasure, and return with him to prove our innocence and set you free." Suddenly, Aladdin made his move.
He startled the guards, knocked one off his horse, mounted it quickly, and galloped away at full speed. The guards chased after him but couldn't catch up. Furious and empty-handed, they returned and threw Aladdin's parents into prison. They reported everything to the minister, who was enraged. He immediately ordered a large reward for Aladdin's capture and announced across the kingdom, "If Aladdin does not return the treasure, the jewels, and the flying horse within 1 year, his parents will be executed." Disguising himself as a poor fisherman, Aladdin went into hiding so no one would recognize him or turn him in for the reward. He traveled through distant cities, asking everyone he met, "Have you seen a man riding a flying horse?" But people laughed at him and replied, "A flying horse? That's the stuff of fairy tales. Are you mad?" They walked away, thinking Aladdin was insane. He couldn't return home or build another flying horse. The minister's soldiers had taken all his books and tools and were still guarding the house, waiting to capture him. With no other choice, Aladdin continued his search, determined to find the thief before the year ran out and before the death sentence was carried out on his parents. Time passed, and his efforts brought no results. One day, exhausted and starving after days without food, Aladdin reached a seashore, his body weak from walking day and night. There, he met an old fisherman returning in a small boat. The kind man took pity on him and shared a few freshly caught fish, roasted them, and gave Aladdin his share. Aladdin ate gratefully. Then the old fisherman asked what troubled him. Feeling a sense of trust, Aladdin told him everything. Then he added sadly, "You'll probably think I'm crazy too, just like the others, when I tell you about the flying horse." But the old fisherman said quietly, "No, my son, I believe you, because I saw that flying horse with my own eyes once. At the time, I thought it was a dream or an illusion, but now I know it was real."
The old fisherman replied, "Months ago, I went fishing early, before sunrise, as I always do. The sky was still dark, with only a faint glow on the horizon. That's when I saw it, a horse flying through the sky, with a man in a black cloak riding it. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I was dreaming, but now I know it was real." Aladdin leaned forward eagerly. "Where did the horse go? Which direction?" The fisherman pointed toward the distant horizon. It flew eastward, across the sea, toward the City of Flowers, a place on the other shore where only the wealthy live. Grateful, Aladdin thanked the kind fisherman and rushed to the harbor, where he found a ship preparing to sail across the sea toward the City of Flowers. He offered to work aboard the ship in exchange for his passage. The captain agreed. After 2 long months at sea, the ship finally reached the shores of the City of Flowers. Aladdin thanked the captain and made his way toward the city walls, and was immediately struck by its strange, beautiful appearance. The walls were covered in blooming vines and sweet-smelling herbs. The streets were lined with rose bushes and jasmine trees. Balconies overflowed with blossoms, and the air was thick with the scent of flowers and perfumes. But Aladdin stood there in confusion, overwhelmed by the city's size. "How will I ever find my flying horse or the thief in such a vast place?" His eyes filled with tears. "Please let him still be here. If he's already left this city for another, I'll never find him in time."
There are only a few days left before the minister's deadline, before my parents are executed." Desperate, he approached an old woman selling flower garlands and jasmine necklaces. "Kind woman," he asked, "do you know anyone here who owns a flying wooden horse?" "A flying wooden horse? Are you mad, boy? Do such things even exist?" She looked at him suspiciously and turned away. Aladdin sighed and moved on. Each person he asked gave him the same response: laughter, disbelief, even insults. He began to lose hope. As night fell, Aladdin sat in silence under the balcony of a house, hiding his face in his hands, filled with sorrow. Suddenly, he heard voices from above. A man and his wife were arguing. The man warned, "Don't forget to lock the windows and doors tonight. Another house was robbed just last night." The wife replied, "What's the point of locking them? Half our friends and family were robbed too, even with doors and windows shut. People are losing their minds. They say the thief comes from the sky." Aladdin's heart skipped a beat. He sat up straight, wide-eyed. "From the sky?" he whispered. "Could it be?"
Now Aladdin was sure the thief who had stolen his flying horse was here in the city. And worse, he was using it to rob homes, just as he had robbed the minister's palace. Determined to stop him, Aladdin disappeared into the wide streets of the city, watching the sky every night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the flying horse. One evening, he spotted something. A black dot gliding silently across the sky, barely visible in the dark. He squinted and watched as the shape grew larger until he could finally make out its details. It was his flying horse. The thief, Hamdan, had painted it black to hide it in the night sky. He was riding it high above, preparing for another robbery without being seen. The horse veered toward the wealthy outskirts of the city. Aladdin broke into a run below it, trying to follow and keep it in sight. Soon, the horse began to descend, landing softly on the rooftop of a large house. Aladdin stopped nearby, hiding in the shadows. He dared not shout to warn the house's owners. If Hamdan noticed, he would flee with the horse. Besides, Aladdin couldn't reach the rooftop himself. Moments later, Hamdan appeared again, carrying stolen jewels and pearls in his hands. He mounted the horse and took off once more. Aladdin sprinted beneath them, refusing to lose sight of his beloved invention. Finally, Hamdan and the horse landed inside the garden of a large house, one that looked more like a palace. Aladdin watched as the thief disappeared inside. "That must be Hamdan's house," Aladdin whispered. "He bought it with the stolen money from the minister's vault. I have to catch him tonight while he sleeps." Without wasting time, Aladdin ran to the city guard headquarters and told the chief of police everything about the flying horse, the robberies, and the thief's identity. But the chief scoffed. "A flying horse? Are you insane, boy? Get out of here before I throw you in jail." Defeated and heartbroken, Aladdin left. He had no choice now. He had to catch the thief alone. Late at night, Aladdin returned to the grand house. He found an open window and slipped in silently. There it was, his wooden flying horse, standing just by the door. From another room, he heard Hamdan's voice, laughing to himself as he counted stolen jewels. "I'm richer than kings and princes," the thief boasted. "Tomorrow I'll fly to a new city and rob every house before anyone can even see me." Aladdin's heart burned with anger. He clenched his fists and rushed toward the thief's room. Aladdin stormed into the thief's room and shouted, "You criminal! Did you really think you could keep stealing without being caught or punished?" Hamdan froze in shock at the sight of Aladdin. "How did you get here?" he stammered. Aladdin replied boldly, "I tracked you all the way here. I'm going to take you back to the minister so you can confess your crime and free my parents from execution." Hamdan's face twisted with rage. "You fool! Do you really think you can force me? I'll kill you and disappear before anyone finds out." He lunged at Aladdin and grabbed his neck. Aladdin quickly struck him with a stone lying nearby. Hamdan staggered back, then grabbed a large knife and charged again. Aladdin darted out of the room, mounted his flying horse, and started the pedals. The horse lifted into the air. Hamdan leapt and caught hold of the horse's leg, dangling from it as it rose, but he couldn't hold on for long. Terrified, he lost his grip and plummeted to the ground, breaking both his legs. Aladdin landed the horse, tied up the injured thief, and called for the chief of police. He showed him all the stolen jewels and treasures Hamdan had hidden, leaving the chief stunned, especially at the sight of the flying horse. Aladdin pleaded, "Please, sir, allow me to take this thief back to my homeland to prove my parents' innocence and save them from death." The chief agreed. Aladdin strapped Hamdan onto the horse and gathered the stolen treasures. He took off at full speed, flying through the early morning sky, the people of the city watching in wonder. There were only a few hours left before sunset, and the year-long deadline set by the minister would end. Just before sunset, Aladdin landed in the minister's garden. The guards rushed to him, followed by the minister himself. Aladdin said firmly, "Here is the thief who stole your treasure, sir, and here is your gold and jewels." The minister stared at Hamdan in disbelief. "It was you? You're the one who robbed me? I nearly executed 2 innocent people in your place." He immediately ordered Hamdan to be imprisoned for life and set Aladdin's parents free. As a reward for his bravery, the minister gifted Aladdin a great treasure and ordered the flying horse to be destroyed so that no one could ever misuse it again. From that day forward, Aladdin lived happily with his parents. He became famous across the kingdom for crafting amazing and strange inventions, things that amazed people but never caused harm. But he never again built a flying horse, and no one else ever did.